Hello there, and welcome back to Non Name Talks.
It's great to be here. Welcome to the deep dive. We've gathered your source material on managing emotional distress. Those times life just feels, well, broken.
Yeah, or seriously off track.
And today, we're aiming to build something like an ultimate stability toolkit. We're pulling from quite a range.
We are. Clinical studies, brain science, different therapy frameworks, even things like, using a diary effectively.
Right, so our listeners looking for something deeper than just quick fixes.
Exactly. The mission today is really to synthesize these varied insights from, say, formal psychological coping theory to the really deep work of self-acceptance.
And equip you with strategies that are foundational, evidence-based, and actually practical for the long haul, building resilience.
That's the goal. We've got the formal theories, we've got the mechanics of things like cognitive behavior therapy, CBT.
And those personal practices like journaling. The big picture isn't just coping day to day, is it? It's about building genuine, robust mental stability.
You couldn't have said it better.
Okay, let's dive in. Where do we start? Well, it seems we have to start with the absolute basics, the body.
Specifically, sleep. You just can't build emotional resilience on a foundation of exhaustion. The sources are really clear on this.
Yeah, it's not optional, is it?
Not at all. Sleep isn't a luxury. Think of it like the brain's operating system running critical maintenance every single night.
And it's doing real work during that time, those deep sleep and REM stages. That's when your brain is actually consolidating information.
Right. Taking what's new, deciding what's important, and filing it away properly into long-term memory. The hippocampus, the neocortex, they're busy.
So if you skimp on sleep, you're basically short-circuiting your ability to learn, to remember stuff accurately.
Precisely. And the recommendation holds steady. For adults, it's generally 7 to 9 hours, consistently.
And the cost of not getting it, the sources were pretty stark.
Oh, absolutely. Chronic sleep deprivation has immediate severe costs. We're not just talking feeling a bit groggy.
No, the comparison was, well, startling. The sources compared the cognitive deficit's reaction time, alertness, to being intoxicated.
It's a powerful analogy, isn't it? Running on fumes basically impairs your judgment and performance as much as alcohol can. That should be a wake-up call.
Definitely. And that's just the short term. What about long term?
Even more concerning, chronic lack of sleep messes with the brain's natural cleanup system. While you sleep, your brain clears out metabolic waste.
Like beta amyloid plaques.
Exactly. If you consistently skip that cleaning cycle, those plaques can build up, and that buildup is linked directly to a higher risk of neurodegenerative diseases down the road.
Like Alzheimer's.
Like Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So prioritizing those 7 to 9 hours is probably the most fundamental act of mental and physical self-defense you can practice.
Okay. Foundational hardware reset. Get enough sleep.
Okay.
Got it. But what happens when the software, the stress, the emotions keeps crashing the system?
Right. Then you need a tactical toolbox. Which brings us to the psychology of coping, how we actively deal with stress.
So how do psychologists define coping? Is it just anything we do to feel better?
Not quite. In formal terms, coping is the conscious, intentional effort you make. It's about solving personal problems, or, if you can't solve them, finding ways to overcome, reduce, or just tolerate the stress or distress.
Conscious and intentional. So that excludes things like subconscious defense mechanisms.
Exactly. Those are generally seen as automatic, not deliberate coping strategies. Coping is active work.
And the research gives us a framework to understand these efforts, right? The 4 foci.
Yes, which is helpful because it breaks down the options. When you feel overwhelmed, think of it like having 4 different levers you can potentially pull.
Okay, let's take an example. Say a massive work deadline is causing serious anxiety. Lever number 1.
That would be problem-focused coping. This aims directly at changing or eliminating the stressor itself.
So for the deadline example, problem-focused would be things like breaking the project down, learning a new software to do it faster, getting help.
Precisely. You're tackling the source of the stress head-on, finding information, planning, acquiring skills.
Okay, lever 2.
Emotion-focused coping. Sometimes you can't change the stressor, at least not right away. The deadline is fixed. So you focus on changing your emotional reaction to it.
That sounds like talking to a friend, going for a run, deep breathing exercises.
Exactly. Seeking social support, relaxation techniques, physical activity to kind of burn off the stress hormones. Managing the feeling, not the problem itself.
Makes sense. Lever 3.
Appraisal-focused coping. This one's interesting. It's about changing how you think about the problem, shifting your perspective.
So with a deadline, Maybe reframing it as a challenge instead of a threat, or finding some dark humor in how overloaded you are,
Mhm.
or even just like denying its importance for a bit.
All of those fit. Denial or distancing can be part of it, or finding humor or cognitive reappraisal, seeing it in a new light. It's about managing the meaning.
And the final lever, number 4.
Occupation-focused coping. This is more about the long game. Engaging in activities that provide positive feedback and a sense of meaning or mastery, often totally unrelated to the specific stressor.
So like pouring energy into a hobby you love, or
Yeah.
volunteer work that feels meaningful.
Exactly. It reminds you of your competence and identity outside of whatever current stress you're facing. It builds resilience over time.
Okay, that framework is really useful. Problem, emotion, appraisal, occupation.
Mm.
But not all coping is created equal,
Mm.
right? Some strategies actually make things worse in the long run.
Absolutely, and that's a critical distinction the sources make, adaptive versus maladaptive coping. This is where it gets really interesting.
So what makes a strategy adaptive or positive?
Adaptive strategies are constructive. They help resolve the issue or genuinely reduce distress without causing other problems. Think proactive coping, anticipating that deadline next month and starting to plan now.
Instead of waiting until the last minute.
Right. Or using humor. The sources specifically note how effective humor can be in dealing with painful or overwhelming events, seeking genuine social support, exercise, relaxation. These are generally adaptive.
Okay, so what falls into the maladaptive category? The stuff that feels good short-term, but hurts long-term.
These are the traps. They offer immediate relief, maybe, but they sustain or worsen the underlying problem. A big one is avoidance coping.
We all know that one. Suddenly needing to clean the entire house when you should be tackling that difficult email.
Ah, yes. Or endless scrolling on social media. That's avoidance. It prevents you from facing the stressor and learning you can handle it.
What else is maladaptive?
Sensitization, where you overfocus on potential threats, constantly running what-if scenarios in your head. Safety behaviors, things you do to feel safe that actually maintain the anxiety. And escape coping, which unfortunately can include substance use or other ways of mentally checking out.
And the problem with these is they prevent you from building confidence.
Exactly. They prevent you from developing what psychologists call self-efficacy, the belief that you can actually manage the difficult situation or emotion. When you stop avoiding and use adaptive strategies, you build that crucial confidence.
Okay, this makes sense. We need the right tools. But let's shift from external coping to the internal landscape. There's a lot in the sources about acceptance, and specifically issues with the whole idea of self-esteem.
Yes, this is a really important point. The argument isn't that feeling good about yourself is bad. The issue with traditional self-esteem is that it's often tied to performance or being better than average.
Which makes it fragile.
Very fragile. If your self-worth depends on always succeeding, always being special, you're setting yourself up for constant anxiety and exhaustion. Because inevitably, you'll fail sometimes, or someone else will be better. It's an unstable foundation.
So what's the alternative the sources propose?
The shift is towards self-acceptance, which sounds simple, but it's quite radical.
Define that for us.
It means accepting yourself completely. Your successes, yes, but also your failures, your flaws, your history, your messy bits, without harsh judgment or excessive self-blame.
So it's like pre-approving your own worth, regardless of outcomes.
That's a great way to put it. You are worthy now, inherently, not just when you achieve something or meet some external standard. And this isn't just feel-good fluff. The research links it to tangible benefits.
Like what?
Boosted confidence, ironically. Lower stress. Fewer depressive symptoms. Because when you practice self-acceptance, external criticism or failure doesn't demolish your core sense of self.
Okay, I get the appeal.
Hmm?
But I can hear a potential objection. If I just accept all my flaws, where's the motivation to change or improve? Does self-acceptance mean just giving up, settling?
That's a really common and important question. And the key here is the connection between self-acceptance and its active partner, self-compassion.
Oh, okay, so they work together.
Yes. Think of self-acceptance as acknowledging reality without judgment. Self-compassion is the kind, motivated response to that reality, especially when reality involves suffering or failure. It's the engine for positive change, and it works even when traditional self-esteem is low.
And self-compassion has specific components, doesn't it? 3 main ones.
That's right. This framework is incredibly useful. The first component is self-kindness.
Which means not beating yourself up when you mess up.
Exactly. Treating yourself gently, supportively, like you would treat a good friend who's struggling. Harsh self-criticism actually doesn't motivate effectively, it just adds another layer of pain. Self-kindness offers encouragement instead of condemnation.
Okay. Component 2.
Common humanity. This one can be truly transformative. It's about recognizing that suffering, failure, and imperfection are part of the shared human experience.
So instead of thinking, why am I always screwing up? It's more like, this is really hard and everyone struggles with hard things sometimes.
Precisely. It counters that feeling of isolation in your pain. You're not uniquely flawed. You're just human.
And the third component.
Mindfulness. But specifically in this context, it means observing your thoughts and feelings, especially the painful ones in the present moment, without judgment and without getting totally swept away by them.
So noticing the anxiety or the sadness or the self-criticism without letting it completely define your reality or spiral into worries about the past or future.
Yes. It allows you to acknowledge the pain without over-identifying with it. It creates a bit of space so you can respond more thoughtfully.
This really seems to boil down to changing that internal voice, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And the sources emphasize using practical techniques like positive self-talk. Not Pollyanna affirmations, but realistic supportive statements.
Like, I am doing my best, or I am worthy of kindness, or it's okay to struggle.
Exactly. Simple declarative statements practiced consistently. It's a necessary psychological technique to actively shift away from that negative self-obsession towards a more constructive, compassionate self-regard.
Okay, so we have the physical foundation with sleep, the coping strategies, and this crucial inner work of self-acceptance and compassion. Now let's look at some structured approaches mentioned in the sources, starting with therapy, specifically CBT.
Right, cognitive behavior therapy. We looked at a systematic review focusing on CBT for anxiety in adolescents, ages 10 to 17.
And the findings were pretty clear.
Very clear. CBT is highly recommended for mild to moderate anxiety in that age group. It can be done individually or in a group setting, and it's quite structured.
How structured? Is it a long process?
Typically, it requires a minimum commitment, usually around 8 sessions or more, with sessions lasting about 60 to 90 minutes. And its power comes from integrating several key components. It's like a multi-tool for anxiety.
Okay, what are some of those components?
Well, first, there's psychoeducation, simply understanding what anxiety is, how it works in your brain and body. And effect recognition learning to accurately identify and name your feelings. Not just, I feel bad, but I feel anxious or I feel overwhelmed.
So understanding the problem first.
Yeah.
Then what?
Then you get into practical management skills. Relaxation training, learning techniques like deep breathing or progressive muscle relaxation to calm the physical symptoms.
And the core of CBT often is challenging thoughts.
That's exactly. Cognitive restructuring. That's the work of identifying those negative, distorted, automatic thoughts like, if I fail this test, my life is over, and learning to challenge and reframe them into something more realistic and balanced, actively changing the mental script.
That sounds powerful. What else is in the toolkit?
There are behavioral components too. Gradual exposure is a big one. Safely and slowly confronting the things that trigger anxiety, learning that you can handle them.
So you don't keep avoiding them.
Right. And also things like problem-solving skills training and social skills training, equipping you to handle real-world situations more effectively. And finally, relapse prevention, planning how to maintain progress. It's very comprehensive.
It definitely sounds like a robust framework. But therapy isn't always accessible. What about self-directed tools? The sources mentioned journaling.
Yes, journal therapy, which is more than just diary writing. It's defined as reflective writing focused specifically on your internal experiences, thoughts, feelings, sensations to gain clarity and validate what you're going through.
And there are specific techniques people can use.
Absolutely. The sources outlined a few really practical ones. One is sprints.
Sprints, like running.
Sort of. You set a timer, maybe just 5 or 10 minutes, and write absolutely anything that comes to mind without censoring. Just let it flow. It can be really cathartic.
Okay, what else?
Unsent letters. This is powerful, especially for processing difficult relationships, trauma, or grief. You write a letter to someone, or even to a past self, or an illness saying everything you need to say, but with no intention of sending it.
So it bypasses that internal censor about what's appropriate to say.
Exactly. It lets you get it all out. Another technique is dialogue writing.
Creating conversations. With who?
With anything, really. You could dialogue with a physical sensation, like that knot in your stomach, or with an event, or with an abstract concept like my anxiety or my future. You write both sides of the conversation.
How does that help?
It externalizes the issue. It allows you to step back and look at it more objectively, maybe understand it from a different angle.
Interesting. And journaling can be paired with mood charting.
Yes, mood charting is another really accessible tool, often derived from more complex clinical life charts. It's basically a simplified way to self-monitor your mood.
So you track things like your mood score each day, anxiety levels, irritability.
hmm And maybe other relevant factors like sleep quality, medication adherence if applicable, and importantly, significant life events.
And the value is seeing patterns.
Exactly. By visually tracking these things over time, you start to see patterns. You can identify triggers. Whenever this happens, my mood tends to dip a few days later. Or see the impact of positive changes.
So you move from just reacting to your mental state
Mm.
to actively collaborating with it.
That's the perfect way to describe it. You become an active participant, an informed partner in managing your own well-being and stability. It's empowering.
Okay. We've covered a lot of ground here, from the absolute necessity of sleep
To specific coping strategies, distinguishing the helpful from the harmful.
to that crucial inner shift towards self-acceptance and self-compassion.
And finally, structured approaches like CBT principles and self-directed tools like journaling and mood charting.
So what's the big takeaway if we synthesize all this?
I think the synthesis points towards true resilience being a dynamic balance. It involves taking care of your foundational physical health, starting with sleep.
And actively using structured techniques, whether from therapy or self-help, to manage specific stressors and challenges.
But critically, underpinning all of that is the capacity to radically accept your current state, your whole self, through practices of self-acceptance and self-compassion. It's not about never struggling, it's about how you relate to the struggle.
And it seems like a lot of this comes back to where we invest our energy.
That's a key insight, I think. Recognizing that the emotional energy we often spend chasing validation or acceptance from external sources, especially sources that might be unavailable or even toxic, is finite.
Right, that energy could be redirected.
It needs to be redirected internally towards building that self-acceptance and self-compassion.
Which leads us perfectly into our final provocative thought, drawn directly from the implications of this material. The sources hint that many people, maybe especially those from difficult backgrounds, get caught in loops, relentlessly seeking acceptance or approval from external sources, family, partners, society, that will likely never give it in the way they need.
A painful pattern.
So the question for you to consider is this: if self-acceptance, that internal validation, is truly the key to stability and happiness, how might finally consciously giving up the hope of ever getting that specific external acceptance actually free you? How could letting go of that external chase liberate the immense energy needed to truly, finally invest in yourself?
Something powerful to reflect on as you build your own stability toolkit.